You are tuned in to the Weekend Review, presented by the Prosper Group, where the right turns to win online.
Join us each week as we take a look at what is happening in digital advocacy and politics with a right of center focus.
Welcome to the Weekend Review podcast. I'm Caroline Alexander.
And I'm Dan Huber. Thanks for listening. We are back talking about advocacy and politics from right of center.
Today, we'll talk inflation, hiring general consultants, and capturing some content. Let's get started. So, Dan, like many of our listeners, I get the AM rundown every morning, and it looks like inflation is getting some attention in social media.
Yeah, so I'm excited to talk about this morning. The AM Rundown is powered by social listening from the Prosper Group. It's sent out daily for political and campaign professionals looking to stay up to date on what the trends are. So there's a few things going on we'll take a look at. So we've been kind of following for the last week or two the terms Israel and Wuhan related to the virus, as well as obviously the issues that have been going on in the Middle East. Both of those have kind of like leveled off a little bit. This past week, Israel's been down 28% with about 1.3 million tweets, which is still a pretty substantial amount of conversation that's going on online, and that really shouldn't be surprising based on kind of the nature of that. And then the Wuhan conversation really has kind of leveled off a little bit more. Not near as big, about 424,000 tweets and down 7% this week. So it's got some stickiness, but not near where it was before. So we've started a few weeks back talking about gas prices, and in the real world, gas prices are up again this week. The week ending June 7th, the average gas price was $3.35 a gallon for regular unleaded throughout the United States. That's the highest price since October of 2014. During Memorial Day weekend last week, the conversation was up to 65,300 tweets. So still not near as big as some of the things, but do expect it to continue to have some maybe chaos and some volatility throughout the summer as prices are expected to go up. So this week we were down 40% from last week at about 39,300 tweets. So the things that we've really been watching in the last few days this week, first off is Senator Joe Manchin. He came out earlier this week, shared his opposition to the partisan Democrat plan to overhaul voting rights in the United States. And, there's been a lot of controversy around that. And, what's interesting is most of the conversation we're seeing is really more kind of Democrats eating their own and attacking their own. Very anti-Manchin conversation that's leading the trends out there. But the growth has been about 228% in the past week, and that's up to 1.1 million tweets, retweets, whatever it is. And Senator Manchin, I think he's focused on what's going on at home and not what's going on online, which probably is good advice for most legislators, most politicians in general. Make sure the people at home are happy first and the people online maybe second. But to the extent that it impacts your fundraising is always a question too. So the next topic that really been following is green cards. And this really follows the Supreme Court decision this week that was a 9-0 ruling by the Supreme Court that limits eligibility for illegal aliens to get green cards. That conversation was up 62% this week to about 29.1 thousand tweets. It's certainly a little bit of inside baseball, but that's definitely something that's kind of jumped this past week, and something that's getting a little more attention and really kind of stirring in the last 24 hours or a little bit more is inflation. So yesterday, the Wall Street Journal reported inflation's up 5% this month or this past month from the previous time last year, which is a significant jump and the largest we've had in quite some time. So the conversation's been up 13% with about 231,000 tweets there. I think that's something that, is going to be somewhat like the gas price conversation that's going to be worth keeping an eye on over time, because you'll see that, I don't think that one's going away anytime soon. Does that make sense, Caroline?
It does. It does. We'll keep that monitoring that and seeing how that progresses.
Great.
And if you all don't receive the AM rundown, you can sign up for daily updates at prospergroupcorp.com/AM rundown. Again, sign up. It's some great updates you all can use for your content. So Dan, I can't believe we're almost halfway through 2021. It's hard to believe, but now's the time when a lot of people are thinking about running for office and getting into the campaign and starting that up. So what resources do we have for potential candidates looking to hire a general consultant?
Yeah, that's a great question. It's something, we've spent some time on already. I posed this question about this time last year to some friends of the Prosper Group who are GCs, specifically Brad Shattuck of Strategic Impact, Aaron Baker of Axiom Strategies, Charlie Garreau of Quantum Communications, Tommy Neppert, Infield Strategies, as well as Lee Nevis. And I did a post called Expert Advice: How to Hire a General Consultant. I'll put a link to that in the podcast notes, but really, I think it's very helpful for people who are looking to run. Now's the time they're putting together teams if they haven't, really planned well in advance, which is perfectly acceptable. I think a lot of people at the state level, at the local level, and, are looking around and very frustrated with what's going on right now and thinking about, making the change and taking the opportunity to get involved and, really help the community. So, there's a few things to think about as you're looking to put together a political team. Early on, you're probably hiring or looking at a general consultant. You need a digital team like the Prosper Group. You're looking for fundraising, and that includes, PAC fundraising, big donor fundraising, small dollar fundraising, like we do a really good job here at the Prosper Group. Really, how do you approach fundraising as a whole, making your calls, dialing for dollars, that's important. And then, you're probably thinking about identifying a treasurer for setting up your committee. That person's kind of more of a responsibility for making sure that all the accounts and the finances are in order. But we talk about this, we talked about those things specifically in a recent post on the 7 essential roles for Republican campaigns, which I'll include that also. But going back to general consultants, really there's 4 keys you're looking for. One, you want to look at finding a GC that's a good fit for you. You want to look for someone too that has substantive experience related to the role. You probably don't want to hire a general consultant who hasn't been involved in a campaign at the level you're at or higher in a leadership role, whether that's a campaign manager, general consultant. You want somebody with some really senior level experience. 3, how familiar are they with your area and your district or areas like that? You want to make sure that, if you have somebody who's only worked in New York City and understands a very urban mindset, you don't probably want the same person working in a rural community that sprawls bigger than some states. My first campaign, I worked in the 3rd Congressional District of Nebraska, which I think the district itself is larger than 20 states in the United States. So, that's very different than a really dense urban district. And so you want to look at that. Number 4, understand that your GC's strengths. So most GCs are going to have some real strengths in some other areas, and probably also add services in an area such as digital, field, direct mail, broadcast, perhaps a pollster. Like most of these people are going to do something else. So that's something you want to be thinking about too. Like, what's important to your campaign, what strengths, how do they understand that sort of thing. So I'd check out that blog post for more insights. Our 5 experts who provided advice in that post, they really add some valuable nuggets, and I think it's worth looking at. So yeah, now I think that's most of our meat and potatoes for the week, Caroline. But before we wrap things up, I assume we have a digital action item for the coming week.
We sure do. So last week's digital action item was to engage inactive email subscribers. That's super important. I hope you all did that and got them engaged and moved them to your actives list. But for this week's digital action item, we're going to work on capturing organic content in your community. With summer here, a lot of outdoor activities are coming up with parades and holidays and some community appearances. So we really want to capitalize on that. So are you capturing photos and videos of you at these events? Are you posting them timely? Are you letting your followers know that you're there? Where can you improve? Are you only posting videos? Are you only posting photos? Make sure you switch it up, keep it lively, keep it timely. And if you need help, get a campaign intern to help you out. Shoot photos while you're talking to people, post it while you're there, and just keep engaging with your online supporters.
Yeah, I think that's really important. That's some of the easiest content you can create. And I think it relates well to so many people that, are interested in you and your campaign. So that's really some low-hanging fruit that I wouldn't pass up, especially, the 4th of July is just around the corner. Candidates and elected officials are going to be at parades and events, and, share that with people. Let them see that you're out there in the community and doing things. So yeah, I appreciate that. Thanks, Caroline. But yeah, I think that's going to wrap it up for us this week for the Prosper Group Week in Review. Thanks everyone for listening. Have a great week.
You can find our Prosper Group Week in Review podcasts on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Google Podcasts.
If you like the show, please subscribe and share.